8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show News Talk 710 KNUS. It is a debated, spicy morning. Let's go to the phone lines. Marcus Aurora. We're talking Fort Lewis College denying the Turning Point USA chapter official designation as a student chapter down there. Marcus, what do you think?
Good morning.
Well, good morning, guys. I got a GED through Fort Lewis College. Now, I'm a combat vet, but as a non-com, you had to have a high school education. So they did me right. But there's only one other thing I want to say about this. You know, you could join the VFW or American Legion. If you're a combat vet, they accept you. If you're not this, then you can go to the American Legion. So they don't really need a chapter.
Yeah, and I recognize, look, that they can meet off campus, and oftentimes Turning Points have to do that when they run up with hostile administrations and stuff like this. But the point is, you have a publicly funded university that's taking your tax dollars, Marcus, and giving them out to different student groups to be able to host events, and different student groups oftentimes get a certain amount of budget. And they have said that they're going to deny Turning Point USA because they disagree with their speech.
Okay, but if it wasn't for Fort Lewis College that helped me, I succeeded as a sergeant because I needed that GED, not a college education, a high school diploma. So they're doing good things and they're doing some bad things. But, you know, I understand what you're saying about public money, but they did me a favor.
Hey, thanks, Marcus. Appreciate the phone call. And I think, Jeff, when depends on how Fort Lewis is going to navigate this, but I do agree with you that they cannot deny official recognition in this case, based on my knowledge so far, of Turning Point USA. However, I don't know if the student body administration is clever enough to walk this line, that if they offered Turning Point USA all of the benefits of being an officially recognized group with not officially recognizing them, they may end up with a better wiggle room, saying that we are giving them all the abilities to do this. We just don't give them official recognition based on what the student body is. But again, I don't think that's necessarily a perfect solution. So, yeah.
All right, join the conversation. Speaking of debates over education, we're going to talk with Amanda Thayer and Tatiana Sturm. They're running for school board here in the Cherry Creek School District. Big election tomorrow, and they're going to join us to give us a sense of why they should be elected and what they could do to improve the district. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. Now is time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. It is Monday. Sun is out, partly cloudy and 34, expecting a high of 56 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, police are still trying to locate a suspect wanted for a house party shooting in Denver. DPD Chief Ron Thomas says officers were called to the Green Valley Ranch neighborhood early Sunday morning to investigate a fight with gunfire and came across an armed suspect at the scene.
One officer, I believe, fired shots at that individual. Unknown if that individual was struck. We searched and were unable to locate that individual. During the search of the area, we did find 2 handguns.
3 people were wounded but are expected to recover. According to Chief Thomas, they were shot before police arrived. The suspect shot at by police still at large. The Schumer shutdown continues. DJT on 60 Minutes last night.
I think it's very bad. There's never been a case like this This is fairly standard stuff. You do extensions are almost automatic. In fact, they were virtually automatic. This is the only time they don't want to do the extension because they're losing so badly that they said maybe we have some leverage. One of the senators said that. Maybe this is the first time we have some leverage. But they really don't have leverage because the Republicans can't be extorted in order to ruin our country.
Governor Polis celebrating a ruling from two federal judges who want the 47 administration to partially fund the SNAP benefits. The state legislature approved a plan to pump in $10 million of state money for SNAP recipients, but lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are concerned it isn't enough. It could all be solved if the lefties just sign the CR. And also, you can expect more slowdowns and delays along with flight cancellations as air traffic controllers call in sick or work without pay. Broncos in Houston, 3 seconds to go, tied at 15. Bo Nix with two huge runs. One when he got out of the pocket and took off, and the other a designed run around the left side. It helps set up this.
For the win for the Broncos. And the kick is good. And the fourth quarter magic remains for Denver. 18-15. Denver with the winner.
Will Lutz, 34-yard field goal. Broncos win it, as you just heard, 18-15. Bo Nix after the game.
I do think the expectations are different. I think we understand what it feels like to have confidence that we can go in there and win against a good team in a tough environment on the road in the league. It's hard to win on the road in this league, and it's hard to do it continuously, but we're just finding ways to do it.
Yes, they are. Knicks, 173 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Broncos have won 6 in a row. They're now 7-2. They lead the AFC West. The Broncos defense, great job on Sunday. They knocked out C.J. Stroud out of the game. That didn't help the Texans. The Raiders at mile high in 4 days. The Chargers in second place in the West. Chiefs in third, and chasing the Broncos and the Chargers. It will get interesting over the next 3 weeks. Here's some truth. Michael Waltz, ambassador to the UN this morning.
78 countries, 330 million Christians being persecuted around the world. It is the most persecuted religion across the Middle East and Africa and elsewhere. And to your point, relative silence from the international community. It is in the UN Charter as a basic human right. It's one of the things that Nicki Minaj is going to come over, and we're going to have her talk to the UN, talk to our experts, and actually hear from some of these pastors and others that have been so horribly persecuted. And I really welcome her engagement and her spotlight.
Love it. Arizona dropped a big one on CU over the weekend, 52-17. The final at Folsom Field, and Coach Deion Sanders after the game.
Don't doubt me. I don't doubt me. Let's get that straight. I don't doubt me. So the next question, the confidence level of me doing this job. Yes. I'm built for this. I don't doubt me.
Obviously. Kings at the Nuggets tonight, Lightning at the Avs tomorrow night, and the Avalanche lead the Western Conference at 7-1. 30 in Castle Rock, 32 in Arvada, 34 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue waking up with Jeff and it's already I'm hooked. I love it. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's going to be a pretty quiet week of weather here in Denver along the Front Range. The main jet stream is going to ride along the U.S.-Canadian border for the week ahead. This will cause temperatures to bounce around a little bit. We are going to be cooler today, upper 50s to near 60, but warming back to 70 or better for Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we're going to cool off for Thursday, Friday into Saturday as a couple of Pacific fronts will clip the area at the end of the week, but they're likely not going to bring any significant threat for moisture. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Tomorrow's a big day for school districts all across the state of Colorado. It's election day. And look, I've worked on presidential campaigns. I understand how important a presidential campaign is. But when it really comes to the direction of your communities, there's almost nothing more important than your school board. The local school board is absolutely critical. Now, I am a product of the Cherry Creek School District. Greenwood Village Elementary School, Cherry Hills Elementary School, West Middle School, Cherry Creek High School. So if you don't like the way I think, I guess you can blame the Cherry Creek School District. But joining us now, because they are candidates in a big election tomorrow, is Amanda Thayer and Tatiana Sturm, school board candidates, Cherry Creek School District. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thank you very much.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
It's a big day tomorrow. Let's start with Amanda, and then we'll get to Tatiana. Let's give us an analysis of how the Cherry Creek School District's doing. How you think you can improve it?
Yeah. Good morning. Thanks for having us. You know, we are ready to rule here when the election happens, but the school district, we know right now we are facing a decline in our literacy and our math rates, and we're falling behind some of the other school districts that have improved since the pandemic. And so one of the things that we really want to do when we get in there is we want to take a hard look at the literacy and really look at the budget and get those resources back into the classroom, get those kids back up to their proficiency levels, give the teachers the support that they need, and start there. We know that the superintendent has some plans to have everyone reading and being proficient in reading by the year 2030. If we can improve that date, we'll definitely do that.
Tatiana, we'll go to you now. Tell us how you think Cherry Creek school districts are doing and what you can do to improve it.
So I've lived here in the district for 20 years. My husband and I are an agent, both real estate agents. And when we moved into this district 20 years ago for our kids' education, we helped a lot of families move into the district. And now we're seeing a lot of families move out of the district because the schools are not what they used to be. We see a lot of families that are doing homeschooling or going to private schools. So our enrollment is down a little bit over 5% over the last 5 years, while the number of administrators in our district has increased over 16%. So those numbers really aren't jiving, especially when our kids, like Amanda said, aren't proficient in reading and writing. We really need to take a hard look at this budget and make sure that we're allocating the appropriate funds into the classroom so we can get our kids where they need to be in this district and reclaim academic excellence.
That's Tatiana Sturm. She's a candidate for Cherry Creek School District for the school board. Tatiana, I feel like what you said was right about how things have declined. I remember Cherry Creek School District when I was growing up, and I graduated from high school 25 years ago, but that it was the most elite public education you could get in Colorado, and people would specifically move into the district to be a part of it, and things were going really well, and I felt blessed to be able to be educated as a part of the Cherry Creek School District. It just seems like that's changed. Would you agree with that, and why do you think it has?
I would agree with everything that you said. Cherry Creek has been known for many, many years. I mean, we're coming up on our 75th birthday of academic excellence. But I think that when you're not paying attention to things, things can slip away, things can go sideways. And that's where we're at right now as a district. A lot of people don't know that our proficiency levels are down. The number of administrators are up, that we're had to dip into our reserves last year just to cover our budget, especially when we have one of the highest pay per pupil in the state of over $18,000. There is some mismanagement going on, and I think finally people here in the district are paying attention now. Amanda and I have spent a lot of time talking to community members, taxpayers, and parents, and they are seeing the same issues that we're bringing up why we are running for the school board. And a lot of people are paying attention finally to the school board race, which is great. And Amanda and I are looking forward to getting into the board and getting the district back on track.
That's Amanda Thayer and Tatiana Sturm. They're candidates for school board here in the Cherry Creek School District. Amanda, teachers' unions play a big role in elections, not just this election, but in pretty much every election. In fact, they spend, I think, more money than just about any other single entity in the country seeking to influence elections. How has the teachers' unions influenced this election in particular?
Yeah, Jeff, we've seen a lot of influence with the teachers' union for our opponents. Our opponents are backed by the teachers' union. They've spent quite a bit of money on them on some campaigns to smear our name, but we are a grassroots effort. Tatiana and I have been working really hard. We have hundreds of donors from our grassroots efforts, from parents to teachers to neighbors to community members that believe in what we're pursuing and believe in the work that we want to do. And so we're just really proud of the fact that we've got such amazing support from so many people across this district. And yeah, that's our support system is you, the people. But we are up against the teachers union. So if you can please get out and vote, we need your vote. That's where it matters. And that's where we could use your support.
Why do you think the teachers unions are supporting your opponents?
I think there's things that they want their opponents to continue to push in the district and keep it going the way that it is. And we see that some of the things that are going on in our district need to be changed, and that's back to our literacy rates. We've got to improve our literacy rates. We've got to get our school district back up to that excellent level of education that we're all used to.
And oftentimes I think it's because they hate accountability. To be honest, that's the point many times of teachers' unions, is to step in the way and to prevent actual accountability and protect the jobs of the teachers. And so if you're seeking to bring about accountability for declining test scores or low-performing teachers, well, then the unions are going to be there to get in the way of it. So I'll go back to Tatiana Sturm running for Cherry Creek School District. You've been out knocking a lot of doors, talking to people. You guys have outraised your opponents. I was just looking here quite well. Do you think the momentum's in your favor as you approach the election day?
I do think the momentum is in our favor. Amanda and I stepped up for our community to do what's right, to represent the community members, parents, taxpayers, which is really what the job of the board is, right? The board is there to make sure that we are accountable to our stakeholders, okay, which is the taxpayers, and that they get a return on their tax dollar, which means our kids need to be educated. They need to be reading, writing. They need to be able to think critically. They need to be able to find what they're passionate about so that they can move through, through the Cherry Creek school system and graduate as a productive person of society. You mentioned with the teachers union and the candidates being backed by the teachers union, that really becomes a conflict of interest when you have candidates that are not just endorsed but financially backed, because then the question becomes, are they truly representing the taxpayer, or are they representing the interests of the teachers union?
That is Amanda Thayer and Tatiana Sturm, the school board candidates for Cherry Creek School District, joining Jeff and Bill live. I appreciate the time both of you have given us this morning. I've got kind of a larger 10,000-foot question. you both have talked a lot about deficiencies and underachievement inside of Cherry Creek schools, plus an imbalance of administration percentage of increase over the past few years versus a declining school population. All of those are fair critiques. So the question I've got is, if we're looking at these deficiencies in reading and writing, what do the two of you believe are the causes? The reason I ask this is because for decades, I have heard from politicians telling me they're going to go to either the state capitol or national, and they're going to find all the fraud and all the waste. They don't find anything. Many times, everything continues as is. So I understand that we've identified the problem. I'm looking for the two of you to identify possibly some causal reasons inside of the school district, because if we don't know the cause, we can't fix the water leak, if that makes sense. So what do you two think the causes of this deficiency in reading and writing are inside the district?
Well, I think. Do you want to go ahead, Amanda?
I think we've taken our eye off the ball as far as focus on the importance of reading and writing and math, and we've got a meritless education system where the kids aren't currently focused on merit, if you will. There's they've taken the valedictorian level away for these students, the high achievers that want to, really reach for that excellence level. We've got test scores for middle school and high schoolers that start out at 50%. So if a student doesn't take a test, or if a student, does half a job on a test, they automatically get a 50%. We had one teacher come up to us and say that a student had taken a test, got a 15% on it, and they added the 15% to the 50%. The student then had a 65% on their test, and they passed with a D. We're seeing this huge discrepancy between our literacy rates being below 50%, our chronic absenteeism being at 25%, and our graduation rates being at 91%. So how does that, how do those numbers work themselves out? And Tatiana, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Sure. One of the things that's been a big push in the Cherry Creek School District is the push for, equitable opportunities, which then the district equates to equitable outcomes, diversity. There's been millions of dollars spent in our district for these types of programs. And unfortunately, the people that these programs are meant for, which is our students of color, these programs are not benefiting them, because when we start breaking down the numbers in the district, about 70% of our students of color, are not proficient in reading. So we really need to look at some of these departments, where this money is being spent in the district, and really get that back in the classroom. Teachers need support. They have, over the years, lost aides, paras. They're required to do more things of upper administration, like professional development and reading books and attending classes, which takes time out of their work as teachers teaching the kids directly. So I think we need to look at the district and work from the bottom up. Right now, the focus has been from the top down. And we really need to start with the teachers and focusing on them and the supports that they need, not just in, aides and paras, but also discipline has been a problem. Many teachers have had complaints that they're not supported in areas of discipline. They have sometimes classrooms up to 40% of the students that are English as a second language, and they, all the other kids are falling behind, the other 60% of the kids falling behind. So Amanda and I really, the first thing that we want to do is take a really hard look at the budget and make sure that we're getting that return on investment and taking the funds and putting them back in the classroom, because that's really what we need to do to get our kids educated, and especially focus on those grades, K through third, and getting every kid proficient in reading by the end of third grade.
Those voices are Amanda Thayer and Tatiana Sturm. Amanda spoke first, Tatiana second, joining Jeff and Bill live. They're candidates for the Cherry Creek School Board. Now, Amanda, you went back to the idea of, the meritless education system. So the one thing you rolled into that was the idea of kids underachieving and also absenteeism. how do we address chronic absenteeism with students, because obviously that holds a portion of the students back from achieving. Also, those are parents, if they're chronically absent, many times those parents have already been contacted and they're not showing any interest in making sure those students show up into class. That is the most of the general population. There are some other examples. And also then the idea of, if we continue, I seem to hear in your answer that we are promoting kids through the grade system that don't necessarily achieve at grade level. So the other question I have is, after the absenteeism, are you recommending that possibly we look at holding back some students? And the reason I think that's important is because the students that are underachievers are going to take up more of the resources, just like the ESL students. It is more expensive to educate them along with the special needs kids than it is the average kid. So that might involve a different allocation of money. But first, I'm curious about your answer. How do you think we can address chronic absenteeism inside the schools?
Yeah, it's a big question, and it's a big concern. I think there's multiple factors that we can address. I think one of the things, and I know the school district's focus is really to focus on getting parent engagement back up. We've, since the pandemic, we've seen a kind of a switch in that. We were originally told, don't come to school. We've got to socially distance. And I think we're crawling back from that. So I think parent involvement is huge. I know when I was in, classes with my kids, and when I would show up to school, my kid was much more involved and wanted to be at school. And so I think parent involvement is a big piece of it. I think that we also need, kids want to learn. They want to be challenged, and they want, when kids are challenged and when kids learn things, they feel better about themselves. They have a better, they enjoy school more. They enjoy their friends. They enjoy their teachers. You can read so many studies on it. And I think there's just this lack of desire to learn and just be pushed through the system. Whereas if we can make it more focused on them, help kids find their passion, help kids feel good about learning, and increase their literacy rates. And you hit the nail on the head. When kids are not learning, when they're not feeling challenged, when they don't feel good about themselves and their own education levels, then they're less likely to engage and be involved. And so if we miss that by the third grade, we're really missing out on future success. We see that gap widen, and it doesn't get any better by the time they get to 11th grade.
Now, Amanda Thayer, I want to interrupt you there just for a second, because what I'm going to ask is, and I like what you're answering, but what I'm looking at is, if those kids that are already not achieving at grade level, I understand the idea of challenging them, etc., but they're already falling behind. So they're going to face a challenging, difficult educational system. And if we say that we need them to succeed and have them feel good about themselves, I heard that argument for the people that wanted to pass these kids through the system, that if they're held back, they feel so bad about themselves, they get so discouraged at school. We've got to continue to let them achieve, and part of that achievement is by passing them into another grade in which they might not even meet grade proficiency. So how do we prevent this from becoming a negative feedback loop? If we tell these kids, you've got to achieve at grade level, we're going to hold you back, you're going to have these consequences, they're not going to see all the time the positive reinforcement you're seeking in order to encourage them to chase their educational outcomes that could be positive. How do we get out of that feedback loop?
I think we have a huge challenge in front of us, and we really have, we have to have kids know that, working hard and doing hard things is okay, and supporting them through that. And, like you said, it starts early. We've got to get there early in their education. We've got to start early learners. When they learn how to read, show that success going forward. So we're going to have some catch up that we will have to do for those kids. I think it is focusing on each learner where they are. We've got to, right now we've got classrooms that are full of special ed students and multilingual learners and your base core group of students. And right now teachers are struggling to teach all of them with what each student needs. And so that's where we want to put those resources back in the classrooms. We've got to get the multilingual learners We've got to get the special needs students. We've got to get them paras and subs and support in those classrooms. Teachers that have certifications for multi-language learners, teachers that have certifications in special ed, and then let the teachers teach the students that are just waiting there to be taught. We've got to focus on that the learner, but we've got to give them the support and the resources that they need in order to get them where they're going. Putting them all in one classroom with one teacher is not going to solve the problem. So resources is where it is.
Yeah, and I think just holding kids back and then putting the parents of truant kids in prison, it's not a bad idea. I remember seeing conservatives hammer Kamala Harris when she was, I think she was district attorney for San Francisco, and they're like, regularly truant kids and parents that just never sent we're not talking about homeschooling parents, we're talking about parents that never sent their kids to school. And then she was like, oh, we're going to put them in jail. And conservatives were like, no, look, she's incarcerated. I was like, that's a good idea. Why not be tough on these parents? I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, Jeff, my daughter was in Cherry Creek schools, and we held her back. We had all of the modalities come test her, and you know what they told us? They said she just needs more time. She needs more time to catch up to her grade, and I think it's a maturity thing. And I obviously am not opposed to it. I held my own child back in the Cherry Creek School District. I think that there are states that are doing this. If you're not proficient by third grade, they're looking at holding students back, and they are reaching their proficiency level. So, kids don't learn all at the same level, all at the same time. And we should be doing what's right for the kid in these districts. We should not be pushing kids forward so that our district looks good. We need to be doing what's right for the student and what's right for their education.
That's a man.
And I don't think we should.
Sorry,
put
go
kids
ahead,
in jail.
Tatiana.
In terms of this question with
Yeah, go ahead, please continue.
We tried to hold our son back in junior high, and we had meetings with the middle school principal and some of the teachers, and I felt at that time we just got pushed through the system to keep our son going. And it was from that perspective, like, oh, it's not going to be good for his self-esteem, that sort of thing, which I don't think is true. I think when kids, for him, it was definitely a maturity thing. But I think when kids do better in school, when, they have that confidence, even if it means holding a kid back, I think that's the right thing to do. Again, I want to get back to putting these kids out in the world as productive members of society. And if it means, and I think, there's a time and place to hold kids back. I mean, I don't know if maybe high school is the best place, but to catch those early, have more earlier intervention. It's, a lot more cost effective for the district to catch these things earlier on, like we've been saying, prior to third grade or, in the elementary school ages, than deal with remediation and getting them to catch up later through their school years, like in junior high and high school. So obviously it's going to take some time to get the district back on track, making sure that proficiency reading levels are where they need to be at, because that's so important, because that sets the tone for, kids doing well in other subjects like math and science, but really focusing on that K through third grade and giving the teachers the support that they need in those grades is going to be something that I think will, it's going to be good for kids' education, but also for the overall budget of the district as well.
That's Amanda Thayer, Tatiana Sturm. They're candidates for the Cherry Creek School Board, and I want to tell you how much we appreciate you all coming on. We know tomorrow's a big day. Bottom line, I just think that most people, hopefully, this is what I'm praying for tomorrow, are ready to move past the politics in the classroom and get back to proficiency, quality, and results. That's it. putting every possible political flag up and having all these debates all the time. People are just done with it. Get back to proficiency, quality, so that our kids have a good future. In my mind, Amanda and Tatiana are going to do that and get Cherry Creek, my alma mater, back to where it needs to be. I hope you all are successful tomorrow. You can learn more about them by going to Amanda4ccsd.com and Tatiana4ccsd.com. Ladies, thank you so much for your time and best of luck to you tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Go vote.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We were seeing in the Elizabeth School District where my wife's running that turnout's just really low. Really, really low.
Oh, it is always in this type of election.
You got to vote. No complaining if you don't vote. You're not
the
allowed.
other part is, if it is a low turnout based on just pure statistics, your vote is a larger percentage of those being cast. So if you're looking for a time in which your single voice matters more than at other times, elections like this are where your vote has an outsized share of voice. Don't skip this one if any of these issues that you heard this morning are important to you. This is a time in which your voice is heard louder than in something like a presidential cycle.
Bill, when we come back, I'd love to hear from you, since your family is made up of educators, what they would like to see changes made. What do you hear around the kitchen dinner table?
Oh, lots of stuff.
I would love to hear it. All right. We'd love to hear from you as well. Who are you supporting? Big school board elections out in Elizabeth, Douglas County, down in Durango, out in Cherry Creek, everywhere. Big school board elections. What are you hoping to see? What changes would you like to make? And are there any candidates that we maybe didn't talk to that you think we should talk about? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Wrapping up a conversation with Amanda Thayer and Tatiana Sturm, school board candidates for the Cherry Creek School District. Amanda for ccsd.com. Tatiana for ccsd.com. Bill, you know this. I blame all of our political problems on our education system.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. In my mind, that's why conservatives need to be passionately involved in it. It's why Democrats win so much, because they know this. They control most of the education system, and they're just pumping out little Marxists. But, Bill, you have educators in your family, and I'd love to know what they say around the dinner table or the biggest challenges they're facing.
Yeah, in fact, that's a great lead-in from you, because it shows some of the things they are most concerned about. Because inside the educational system, they are viewed as both the problem and the solution. So they are always they are always the problem and the solution. So the idea is they're these liberal Marxists who are doing all this indoctrination, and they're responsible for the underachievement. But then we need to support these teachers, give them more resources, and in fact, in some cases, make them the first line of defense for school safety. Either these are professionals that we can depend on and give them more resources so they can help our kids achieve, or they're liberal Marxists doing indoctrination. They are always couched as both the problem and the solution. So there is no way ever for people inside the educational world to win, because sometimes they're horrible, horrible people. Sometimes they just need to have more help, etc., because they just can't somehow do their job right. That's all it is. And so we've got to decide which one they are, or just continue to blame them because it's easy, because it's super easy that way. That's it. That's really the complaints that I hear. They're always looked at as both the problem and the solution. That you're the problem my kids aren't achieving, but you have to be the solution to have them achieve. But you're the problem to begin with. That's it.
Yeah,
it becomes circular.
I don't know if the critique and the proposed solutions match up. So if the critique is you're being too political, I'm not sure that it's just the fact that, you know, your family members have to change. That's the solution there. I think you could look at the critique that the school system is too political. It's too progressive. It's run by Democrats and liberals. Its curriculum is primarily liberal in its worldview, and it promotes that. But then people are concerned about achievement. Those teams seem like two different issues to me. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
But if these are horrible liberal Marxists that are bent on indoctrinating your kids into becoming little communists, then why would they ever want your kids to achieve and be smart? So that you're telling them that, well, you've got to help me achieve, you got to support you. The problem is you don't have enough resources. You don't have enough, just like, Tatiana and Amanda there were talking about the idea of not having special needs, disciplinary issues, and ESL students all in one classroom because it slows down all populations from learning.
Correct.
That's a truism. That has nothing to do with
like
Marxist.
I said, those are two different things.
But that has nothing to do with Marxist liberal indoctrination. In fact, if it was the idea that we need to have them be Marxist liberal indoctrinated, then you would embrace that. They would lean into the idea that all of this has to be done this way and we can't because they're getting what they want.
Does that explain the test scores? Because I look at Denver and even Cherry Creek School District, they were mentioning declining competency with regards to test scores. I often say that public education is achieving exactly what it wants to achieve, which is little activists. And so you have kids that are more progressive than ever, willing to support Mondami and AOC and socialism. I mean, socialism used to be a four-letter word. Now they're coming out little socialists, but they're failing in actually meeting state requirements. So,
but are they? Because we've seen this whole thing. No, are they? Because we've seen something recently that talks about a larger percentage of young males in our society are identifying as conservative. So
and you think that's because of the schools?
No, what I'm saying is I don't believe the schools are that good at indoctrination. I think this entire bromide necessarily about them being liberal indoctrination factories, I don't think necessarily works. Because if it did, you wouldn't have those dudes being conservative. You wouldn't have that.
I think those guys are the exception, not the rule. And the actual rule is that I think you see a higher embrace of socialism particularly among young people, than you've ever seen before in this country's history. And at the same time, failing competency scores. So, I mean, isn't the critique that government-run education is doing that valid?
No, I don't, because I don't think it's a causal relationship. I don't think you can demonstrate that it's a causal relationship.
Who's making them socialists?
I believe it is the function of our society at this point. And we've talked about that based on the economics. And part of that being when you get out into the real world and you have been told if you put your back to the grindstone and you work hard and you show up every day and you don't screw off, then you can achieve. And the achieve are things like purchasing car, purchasing house, starting a family. And more kids at the bottom end of this are not being able to find that type of achievement based on the existence of the economic system. And so if they turn around and say, well, if the danger is that these things I can't already pay for are going to be paid for by the government, then what's the negative? Because I'm already not achieving that to begin with. So it's not like you're taking anything away from them. They already don't have it. So that's the issue. That's why. It's more a function, in my mind, of the economic system. And part, we've also decided that some of the schools have to be some of our social engineering, and understand that many people will go to, oh, that means the liberal indoctrination. No, it means that some of your kids are monsters, absolute monsters that don't understand how to behave in public, show up to first grade and don't understand I can't come over there and punch the other kid and take what they want. That I don't understand that maybe I don't pee all over the floor when I go to the bathroom inside of the school. That maybe when the person in charge of the class tells me to sit down and can you please pay attention, they don't respect that. Some of your kids show up as monsters. And these are the disciplinary issues that both Amanda and Tatiana talked about, but then they talked about engaging parents. Those kids are often the progeny of some of the most disaffected, uninvolved parents in the entire district. It's very difficult to get them to pay attention and to care about it. There is a segment of that population that does, but the vast majority of those kids, they don't care.
Not all of American history has had kids educated to be this progressive, and I think it's pretty clear. There's a causal relationship between embracing progressive ideology and failing on your standardized tests. But prove me wrong. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Tomorrow, big school board elections all over the state of Colorado. You got to turn in your ballot. Just turn in your ballot.
Yeah.
And I know there's supposed to be nonpartisan races, but just go to any of your county parties. I got an interesting email one time regarding our interview of the candidates in Douglas County. And they're like, you made the progressive candidates sound like they were endorsed by the Democrat Party. And then I just sent them the Democrats of Douglas County website, which lists their candidates.
Which endorse them.
Endorse them.
Okay.
And the Republicans have their candidates as well. So if you just go to the county party in your community, but these are really, really important. Text message coming in. Well, how is humanity taught in a conservative world? Take care of my neighbor unless 9588. No, here's why the conservative worldview is so right and why you need to teach it and embrace it. One, that there is a God that you're going to be held accountable to, okay? And you need to self-control. You need to self-police. That's up to you. You're going to be judged on it someday. Can you imagine if kids all throughout the country believe that? How much easier it would be to maybe run classroom discipline if they understood the reality that there's a God that's going to hold them accountable. Secondly, that your place in life, your state in life, is the result of your own hard work. Okay? You just don't go run around blaming somebody else all the time for your problems in life. Do something about it. It's up to you to fix it. Okay? And that pathway is through a quality education. So take your grades seriously. Work hard in your classroom. Do your homework. Study for your tests because it is going to open up more doors for you in the long run. That's going to create better opportunities. It's up to you. Stop blaming other people and then care for your neighbors because there's a God that's going to hold you accountable to it. 9588. That's how it works out in a conservative worldview. All right. Can you be married with different religions? J.D. Vance, his wife, are dealing through this issue right now. We'll debate it next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
KNUS.